Thank you for downloading this episode of the Nerdball podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Fort Meigs CrossFit. Thanks to Fort Meigs CrossFit for always allowing me to use their studio space. It's a great partnership. I'm even possibly going to take some CrossFit classes here. So when I take those classes, I'll let you know how it goes. Hopefully I don't fall apart. Obviously, you can see my new hat I got from Noggin Boss. Finally came in. I'm pretty excited about this thing. It's pretty ridiculous, but I have worn it out a few times, and people have come up to me, so it's working. I'm using it as a billboard because it's as big as one. So we'll go with that. I'm also going to try something new with these intros because I always feel like they're super long. And if you want to know what's in the podcast before you even listen to it, you can probably just read the podcast notes. So let me know what you think. If you like the super long intros, I'll continue to do them. If I don't hear anything from anybody, I'm assuming everything's fine and you really don't care about anything. So with that, my guest today is a junior high STEM lab teacher. She was my teacher in high school. Great friend now. We talk a lot about a lot of stuff. I'm not going to bring any of up because it's a long intro, and that's that. So I'm excited for you to listen.
I'm Jackie Derr, and this is the Nerdball podcast. This is the Nerdball podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
All right, third time's a charm. Good job, Jackie. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
I was trying to look back to see when you were on the first time, and I think it was like number 30, and this is my 161st now.
Dang.
And I was like, man, I for some reason I thought it was sooner. I don't know, or not as far back as that. So I think you were in my garage.
We were in the garage.
I had no video yet. So yeah, a lot has changed now.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's going really well. I really like it. People like yourself, still like people will ask to be on, or hey, if you need someone. People always say it like they wouldn't be good. They're like, hey, if you really need somebody, I'll come on or whatever.
Right.
But I think people don't want to just be like, hey, I want to come on, I want to do this, but I want all that.
Yeah.
I want people to want to come on here.
Well, and you do interesting topics too.
Yeah.
It's just it isn't just a hey, here we're going to talk about computers today, and not that that's bad, but
For some people,
you'd have an audience.
Yeah.
Probably not as much as you have right now.
No, maybe not. Although, according to my kids, I don't have enough YouTube subscribers. I was like, I'm pretty excited. I almost have 100, but my kids, the ones they watch, have like millions of YouTube subscribers. So they look at Dad's 88. And it's like, Dad, I was like, hey, I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, we got to get that. Come on, people.
I
subscribe.
I always look at like my Facebook followers, my Instagram followers. I'm like, all you guys got to do is hit subscribe. I have like, I don't know, Facebook is like 700 or something. I'm like, just everybody's on YouTube.
Right.
Just hit subscribe and you'll help me out. And
hit subscribe. You'll get a free sticker.
Yeah, see? I have a bunch of them. Got to get rid of them. Thank you for that. I always, constantly at the end, I'm always thinking, people who helped me from the beginning. And that was one thing that people really love stickers.
Yeah.
And those can get handed out so easily and people stick them wherever. Sometimes I'll find them where I didn't stick them. I'm like, oh, someone just put my sticker up here that I can hand it out. So it's cool.
That's awesome.
I did put one last year. Scott Bucher sent me a picture because I put one on the leaving the junior high.
Yeah.
It was like on a piece of paper that was already up there, and I just put it next to it. And he sent me a picture. He goes, "Was this you?" And I just went, "I don't know who it was."
Hey, next time you see him, you'll have to ask him about his Yippee Skippee Friday.
Yippee Skippee Friday
banner. Yeah.
Okay.
So he started a thing about on Fridays when he does the announcements. Mm-hmm. He goes, Yippee Skippee, it's Friday.
Oh my gosh.
And so there's a really cool story behind it, though.
Yeah.
It's like the elementary that he went to, that's what their principal, I think it was his principal that said that.
Okay.
And so he says something he always remembers. And so he wants our kids to have something to remember. And so not me. So Scott, if you're listening, that wasn't me. But a banner was made.
Okay, all right.
And so that got put up in the hallway. And it was pretty cool to see the staff and the kids be like, hey.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there isn't very many people that can make banners in the school, so it probably narrows it down a little.
Yeah, he did come in. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, well, you're the only one with the machine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
You're like, these kids are pretty smart. I don't know. There's hundreds of them that take this class.
Yeah. Welcome to being the new principal.
Oh, that's awesome. It is cool because sometimes you do things that in your mind you're like, man, this is like really embarrassing or whatever, but people are going to remember it. I mean, if he remembered it from elementary school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like I tell my kids, I'm like, Yippee Skippee. and at first it was kind of like, okay, because he's saying it, and now it just becomes like that's our thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just a really one of the cool things that he's brought to the junior high.
Yeah.
As his first year as principal, that I don't know. I'm proud of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like he is a former student of mine. I had him at the high school as a student, and now he's my boss.
Yeah. Man, that's
okay.
Yeah. How do you obviously most people were just like, all right, whatever, and you don't even think twice about it, especially, just being in Perrysburg for a long time, both of you probably don't think twice about it, but at some point you're like, man, you look back on it, but you always look back on it as a good thing. Right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I've told him, I'm like, it's so cool as a teacher that you see your former students being so successful. And then, to teach with him for a few years, and then now he's the principal.
Yeah.
And just seeing what a fabulous job he's doing. I mean, he's calm, and you can go up to him and say, hey, can you talk me off this cliff? And, he's so reasonable that he's a great asset to our district, and we're lucky to have him.
It's always nice to have somebody at the top who is just like emotionally is always level.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it makes those times where you either need help with something, or man, I probably did something wrong. But my boss, wherever you're at in any work, my boss is level-headed enough where he or she will understand. It just makes you it makes you want to take chances sometimes at work too, knowing hey, my boss has my back if something,
right. Yeah. I mean, there was a time that I was talking to him. I'm like, I don't know how to really say this, so let's put in the right context so I don't offend somebody. I said, I don't mean to offend anybody, and he's like, just say it.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay. And so that's nice to know that you can say, hey, I'm not sure if this is going to come out right, but here it is.
Yeah. Because some people would have just well, then don't say anything.
Right. Right.
So it's nice to have that person behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just neat to see, even to see you being successful with this and coaching and at the parks. And then last night I went and saw a former student of Ryan Dunlap singing, and it's just, I don't know, you're a proud teacher.
Yeah. Whenever you see, I would imagine even when I see players I coached or people that at work that are seasonals that are now full-time staff members at other parks, it makes you feel good that they're happy doing whatever they're doing.
Right. Right.
It's nice. And that's why I got that from Scott too. Cause Scott, we had a talk last summer about, I always like talking to the seniors during football season. Hey, what are you doing after school? You're going to college, you playing football or whatever. And Scott said he changed what he used to say that too. And now he just says, hey, what lifestyle do you want to live after school?
Oh, I like that.
Or when you get older, what lifestyle do you want to live? Because I always tell people, if you make whatever X amount of money you make at your job and you love your job, then you're going to figure out how to live on that money because you just love what you do. So it's not going to be this hindrance of you oh, I need to make more money, but this job is also awful. You spend a lot of time at your job, whatever it is. So you should probably try to find something you really like to do, and it just makes everything a lot better.
Yeah. Money isn't everything.
Yeah.
Even though I tell my kids I'm waiting for that nice rich man, it's not everything.
It helps.
It helps, but I would rather be where I'm at now and be able to have that influence on people and I don't know, just be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Be happy and have that positive outlook. And
and then buy little things here or there that give you happiness. I still, whenever every spring when you bring your Mustang out and put a picture out, it makes me smile because man, she's had a Mustang for a while, I feel but it's just this thing that it's it's another oh, the Robins are here and Jackie has her Mustang out.
Yep. Mustang Sally.
But it's just those extra little things that just make life just happy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Puts a little hyping your step there.
Yeah.
And it could be 60 degrees, but I've got the top down and the heat is on full blast. It's coming from the feet, but nobody knows it.
No.
Until now.
We did that. Andrea and I went to Florida in January, and it was we rented a convertible just for that. We were able to have the top down one day, even then that we had to have the heat on, and then the rest of the time it was too cold. But I was like, well, we got to experience it one time,
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
But again, it's a toy to me.
Yeah.
And so that's where, when you talked about like how much money you make, it's like when I get something like that, it's like, okay, I'm only spending X amount of money.
Yeah.
Because it's a toy, and so you have to put your priorities in order of, okay, I need a vehicle that I can drive in the winter and be safe and all of that. This is a toy. And so it took me quite a while to find that.
Yeah.
Because even the ones that were like $1,000 or $2,000 more than what I wanted to spend, I was like, no.
This is the limit.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And so it's taught me a little bit of patience, but you have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be wallowing in debt, and then what?
Yeah. Then you'll be crying in your Mustang.
Right. As I wave goodbye, I'll be like, oh, if I would have just gone $2,000 less.
Also, where does that line stop? You're like, it's only 1,000. We'll do that. But this one's only another 1,000. Like I feel like it just snowballs up and up.
Yeah, I remember. So when I was looking for my Mustang, Dale Wiltsey was our principal at the junior high at the time, and he had one, and I think his was like, I think he told me he would sell it to me for like $12,000, and I'm like, can't do it. That's above what I placed.
Yeah.
For what I can willing to spend on a toy. And so, I mean, and I'm telling you, I was like all eyeballs on that car and everything.
Sure.
It's like, oh, this would be the perfect one. This would be great. And they're like, no, it's like the devil on the shoulder. It's like, no, don't stick to your guns, Jack.
Yeah. Just
spend that, what you allotted and be happy. And, and it happened,
What about like why a Mustang? I don't know if I've ever asked you that. I'm sure people have asked you that, but
I've always loved Mustangs.
Okay.
So the kids were asking me about my cars the other day, and so I started out with a Volkswagen Rabbit, and then I went to it was a blue Mustang Ghia, which is kind of like the GTO back in the day.
Okay.
So I had that one, and then when I graduated from college, because I paid my own way through school, and so it took me 10 years to get through college. My gift to myself was a brand new Mustang. I've just always loved them.
Okay.
And then when I'm like, I want a convertible. I want a convertible. I want a Mustang convertible.
Of course, yeah.
And then, so my goal is to keep this one. And then when I retire, I would like to get a newer one.
Yeah.
That's a convertible. As my retirement gift. So I start my teaching career with a brand new Mustang, and I'm hoping to end it. So
That's
anybody
awesome.
out there that wants to donate,
Jackie's GoFundMe Mustang.
I'm about 8 years away, so
You have plenty of time.
yeah. If I start now, I'll have that money.
Do you ever care like about the because I know they make like with trucks with the Fords they have like Raptors and all these special packages. Does that matter to you at all, or is it just like I want a Mustang with a convertible?
So when I look for a vehicle, this is crazy. I'm a woman and you're talking about vehicles, but my car salesman knows the things that are very important to me are the way the wheels, the rims look.
Okay.
And it has to have heated and cooled seats.
Yeah.
And the interior has to catch my eye.
Yeah.
And I used to always need a sunroof, like in my truck.
Okay.
Well, then
I want to stop you right here. All those things are exactly the same things my wife looks at for cars.
Really?
The rims. She does not like chrome rims. She does not like chrome. So the last car we bought her, they had to like switch the wheels. Always a sunroof. And now that the kids are older, she likes like leather as opposed to cloth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because those are the exact same things that she wants.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, the truck that I have right now does not have a sunroof. And the reason that I was okay with that, this is crazy, but it had the red stitching on the seats.
Yeah, that looks nice.
And on the seat belts.
Okay, all right.
And I'm like, yeah, and I like the decal on the outside. So yeah, we'll go without a sunroof this time. Because I'll have the Mustang, and it's like I'll drive the Mustang while it's warm, so I can handle it.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Have you always gone to the same place when you bought vehicles?
Pretty much.
Yeah. We always go to one. We go to Ed Schmidt here in Perrysburg, and to get Andrea's cars, we would always lease her cars just so we always had a nice car, especially with young kids. Like I always want to make sure she had a good car to drive. If it broke down, we'd have to pay for it. All this stuff. So our salesman was like my second dad growing up.
Oh, okay.
And it is one of those things that we've talked about it before. I'm comfortable now calling you Jackie, but I've always called him Mr. Troball. That was I always called him that. And even now, I'm almost 40 years old. We got a car, or we extended our lease or whatever. I can't remember what we did. Oh, we just bought the car out of the lease. And I was like, all right, thanks, Mr. Troball. And it's like this thing I just can't shake, But he was like a super important person growing up. Me and his kid were best friends. We always hung out together. And now I think it's cool that he's like, they're still here. They still have the same house in Maumee. And he helps us out every time we buy a car. But it's the same thing. Like it's comfortability. Like we know going in, like he knows exactly what we're looking for. He'll help us out. I know he has to make money, but he'll help us out wherever possible on that front. But I'm comfortable. Like he's not gonna like screw us over.
Right.
Yep. So I don't even like he'll just say, all right, here's the price, and I'm just like, okay, like I just comfortable with it. It makes the buying process so easy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Except for my salesman, I'm just kind of like, well, what about this feature, and do you have another one that I can look at? And I'm like, okay, you just decide for me. Yeah.
It also makes it comfortable that way too. When you're like going super in depth, they're like, all right, I need this specific thing that there's 2 in the country. Find it.
Yeah. But isn't it cool that you have certain people in your life that you can always go to, and they're gonna do the right thing for you at all times, and so that's kind of like the car salesman that I have is like, I know he's not gonna steer me wrong.
Yeah.
So
it's always nice to go to those places or go to those restaurants that are always good, or have all these places that you feel good, comfortable.
Right.
We always felt that way. We always felt that way. Like I was just talking to somebody at work saying like, I want to, I like when I get older, I want to like be like a regular at a restaurant or somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I think you feel that way now. And she's like, where is it? I go, I don't want to say. She goes, where is it? I go, Chili's. I think that's our regular thing. Because the kids love to go there. Lillian's favorite pizza. If you ask her any pizza, she got any pizza, it'd be Chili's pizza for whatever reason. But then we got real comfortable with a waitress there. She was like, we know her whole life story. There was a couple times where some things happened in her life and she like started crying when she was talking to us. The manager now started as a waiter. His name's Bobby Ott. I'm pretty sure he went to Perrysburg too.
Okay.
But now he's the manager there, and he always comes by. Sometimes he'll give us like little $5 gift certificates and stuff. But like, I was like, Andrea, I think this is our place.
That's cool. That's cool.
But it's nice like knowing people where you go.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it also helps you serve your purpose too, because like you said, when your waitress was having a rough time, it's like you guys were there for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I think we need more people like that to look at life and be like, what can I do for others instead of it's not all about me.
Yeah.
It's what can we do for others, and as a teacher, that's what I try to do. Yeah. And so you were that waitress's person that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. That is a good way to look at it though, because sometimes like they just. Like she could have went the whole day not seeing anybody she knew, and then she was like had this thing built up,
right.
And then she was able to. And she apologized. Like, well, it's fine, this is what happens. You can be emotional. It's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool, and like I said, I like going there it just feels good to. And it also feels good knowing my kids are going to complain about what they get, because that's always a thing when you go to a new restaurant. And
right.
Like, well, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Or my son's always like, well, I like this. And they're like, I don't know if you're going to like it. You can try it, So that's a huge thing for parents. For me, being parents, my wife and I, it's like, there'd be no fights. We always get, and although We always get the same appetizer, and that's a little frustrating for me because I like to mix stuff up, but the kids love chips, so we're going to get chips and salsa all the time. So there's give and take, but I'd much rather just like let the kids be happy, and then I'm happy too.
Right.
So.
Otherwise, you're at Taco Bell or something like that every night, and that's not good.
Yeah.
What's for dinner tonight, honey? Taco Bell.
That was Chili's was also one of our takeout things during COVID too, because we couldn't go to restaurants and stuff. So I always go there. It's definitely whenever you order takeout from a restaurant, it's never not as good. I mean, it's still good. It's not as fresh, when you go home. So
yeah, that
was a little downer, but we still enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I noticed you were posting pictures of ducks in the courtyard at the junior high. Is that where that's at, right?
Yeah.
So then it reminded me of the ducks that you had in your backyard, little baby ducks. And I think, did you post that some ducks came back?
Yeah.
Or there have been ducks come back?
So the original mom was from like 3 doors down.
Okay.
They have a pond at their house. And so that's where they all ended up going once they flew away. And after I was told I wasn't supposed to have them. I'm like, it's COVID.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Leave these eggs to die?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's two of them, a male and a female that have been coming back again. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like every morning when I walk out to leave for school, I'll see them there and I'll be like, hey guys, good morning. And they'll kind of like tilt their head like, is that you, Mom? So I went yesterday and got some more food. I put some food out for them. And,
Do they have a nest somewhere or there? Or
I haven't seen one yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I don't know. But the ones at the junior high, there's 13 ducklings in the one courtyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it 2 different nests or was it just one nest?
So there was 2 in the courtyard that's closest to my room.
Okay.
One, I don't know if the moms got mixed up and so the eggs didn't hatch.
Okay.
And then there was a set in the other courtyard that they didn't make it. But, we had that really cold spurt and nature took its course.
Yeah.
But
there's 13 little ones.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wanted to go out and just like grab a couple and hold them. That's what I did when I raised them.
Yeah.
It's like, but, so I was at Family Farm and Home yesterday getting food, and they had the chickens there, and so I'm talking to the lady about that. Yeah. I'm like, how much work is there? 'Cause I'm thinking, well, maybe I could do that. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a lot of time.
Yes.
And when you're not home at night, that's, to get them, at least for me, I always had to like put them inside the house that I built for them because I wanted to keep them safe.
Yeah.
I didn't want Mother Nature to run its course completely.
Yeah. I think it was a good, like, for you to do it like one time. Because like you said, I'm sure you thought about it like, oh, I should do this more but you waited more like, well, time-wise and this and that. But I think doing it one time was probably like, that was good.
And it was perfect timing. It's like, they say like God's perfect timing, because I've got neighbors on both sides of me and my mom that are all elderly. And so they would come over and they would see them, and then since you were outside, some people could stop over. It's just like, it brought so much joy during a time in everybody's life that, the world is shutting down.
Yeah.
And yet we have these ducklings that are following me around the yard, and, people can come over and check on them. Like my one neighbor, she was over every day.
Yeah.
Just looking at them. We kept our social distance.
Yeah.
But, and so that's why when they're like, you really shouldn't be having these. And I'm like, listen, it's COVID.
Who told you that?
It was a rescue place.
Okay. And is it because you contacted them or did they?
Yeah, so so one of them was like getting picked on, and I thought it was like a pecking order thing. And so I just called to make sure, and they're like, well, you shouldn't have them. We need to come pick them up. And I'm like, okay.
Like, no, thank you, bye.
How about if I take them down the street to the pond where they came from? Like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, okay, but if they follow me, I won't transport them.
Yeah.
And so then, right away, I started to panic. I'm thinking, I need some time to be able to say goodbye to them.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, you can come on Monday. So then another lady called, and I'm like, hey, he didn't even answer my first question. And so we talked about that, and she's like, can I just ask you some questions? And she said, can they repel water? I'm like, yep. Can they swim? Yep. How did they learn to swim? So I explained that whole process that I took, and are they eating on their own? I said yes, and I still provide them some food, but they're still, getting food on their own. And she's like, well, you're doing everything that we would do.
Okay.
She was, are you okay if we just cancel that call? I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm telling you, they are days away from flying away.
Oh, okay.
I said, because they used to sit underneath the chair when I would sit down, and they've stopped doing that. So it's kind of like as they get ready to leave the nest, they start distancing themselves. And I said, I'm telling you, they're flying away. They've even started, like, they'll be gone all day, and they'll come back at night. And so she canceled the call, and she's like, you're good. You rescued them. Just let them go when they're ready. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's I didn't think when you first started talking about it, I thought they were still like little when you made this call, and I was like, oh, they're gonna come pick them up, but I didn't know they were older already.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that was cool that that one person called you back and said, no, you're good. Just let it be. Also, like, it must have been cool, like when you sat down for all of them just to come under your chair.
I have pictures of them where it's like I would lay down in the grass and they'd climb up on my back and they'd be around my neck, and it was awesome. They'd be, and during the day I would just they would roam. Yeah. And so I'd go out and I'd be like, you guys want to go for a walk? And all of a sudden here they come. Do. We'd walk around the property.
Wow. That's so cool. It is like a once in a lifetime thing. Especially, obviously, if you're like looking to do it, you're gonna be able to do it because there's ducks everywhere and eggs everywhere, just like the ones in the courtyard that you knew. Right. But like, just like I don't think you'll ever, even if you did it again, like the feeling you had the first time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
it would not be the same. Yeah, it's like I went all the way. So I went to the family farm and home right by my house, and they didn't have an incubator. So I drove all the way to Bowling Green to get this incubator, and back home I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay for an hour. And I'm like flying. Yeah. And I'm thinking, if I get stopped, what am I going to say? Hey, I got these duck eggs that I need to get this incubator home for because they're going to die. I'm like, okay, when Pat Summit got pulled over, she would always have autographed basketballs in her trunk and be like, the officer would be like, oh, you got an autographed basketball? She said, would you like one? And then next thing you know, they're like, okay, Miss Pat.
See ya.
Easy on the pedal now. So I'm thinking, is this going to work for me? Yeah. So I get home because I tried to reunite the mom with the eggs. Yeah. And so then I get home and the mom is on the peak of my house, the roof of my house. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I brought the eggs back out. And the mom just never reconnected. So I would go out, put an X and an O on them and flip them every like 4 or 5 times a day and then watch them hatch. And
that's crazy.
But cool. It was time consuming, but during COVID, you had that time. Yeah. But now, no. Sorry.
Sorry, ducks.
Now Mother Nature can take its course.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
But a great learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So, something, like I said, something you'll never forget for sure.
Yeah. And it's called candling. Yeah. Where you can see the inside, what is it that you get when you're for the babies?
Oh, ultrasound.
The ultrasound. Yeah. And so you can see the heartbeat. You can see all the veins. You can see the duck moving, and it was just awesome. I
did that when we had ducks. I had one male just so I could have fertilized eggs, and I would bring it in and show the kids because it starts. I mean, it's quick. Yeah. So you can get it after like 2 days, and you can start seeing like blood vessels just in there. Right. And then like another 3 days, and you can see like blood moving, and like it was really cool. The kids really liked it.
Yeah. And I think I called you a couple times for advice on hey, what do you do for this? And so it's a combined effort, And now I have a 6 foot by 8 foot duck house in my yard that.
What do you put in there? Is it just a shed now?
Yeah, now it's just a shed. Yeah. I put like the shovels and the winter stuff and all that in there. But yeah.
That's cool. You brought up Pat Summitt, and that reminded me I want to talk to you about the women's NCAA tournament. I've never watched more NCAA women's basketball in my life than I did this year. And the main reason, the games were really good. Obviously I like Zia Cook because she's from Toledo. I liked watching her. But there was no one I can remember that brought me into basketball than Caitlin Clark. Like, it was amazing. Even like my family would watch it. We were in Texas. We were at a bar in Texas with family stuff, and it was on. And like I had them put it on in the bar. Like just watching it was. I don't know. It was. She's so amazing, and it was. And her single handedly, I know, brought in people like me that wouldn't.
Oh, exactly. Right? Yep. Yeah. So we were in. Well, first of all, it was like all your men's brackets were trashed by the first weekend.
Yes.
And obviously, I love basketball, but women's basketball, in my opinion, is true basketball. They're not trying to put on a show. You know, it's true basketball. Let's set a screen. Let's, crash the boards, that sort of thing. And to see the teams that made it to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, and it's like, okay, Kim Mulkey is, she's crazy with her outfits, but she's a good coach, and I think she's a good person. Now, UConn, no. He was terrible. He was so terrible. Much. He treated Pat Summitt so bad that she refused to play him.
Really?
So like I'm rooting against them, and then South Carolina, it's like Dawn Staley, she's a great coach as well. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you see this Iowa with Caitlin Clark, and you're right. And like with South Carolina, you want Zia Cook to do well because she's a local. Yeah. And then Iowa comes in, and you're like, whoa. And I watch coaches.
Okay.
Because I always want to portray that I am under control and that I'm a good role model for my kids, whether I'm in the classroom or whether I'm coaching. And so I always watch coaches. I watch how they dress. I always got teased because I wore suits when I coached.
Yeah.
And Dave Matoliak is, Pat Summitt. And I'm like, hey, whatever. And so I watch all of that. And then I watch Caitlin Clark and the Iowa coach, and it's like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
So then when it came down to the finals, I'm down in Siesta Key, and I was just commenting to somebody about, why are the finals at 3:00 in the afternoon?
That's what I thought was weird.
If this was a men's game, they'd have prime time. Why aren't the women getting this?
Yeah.
So we walk into this bar on Siesta Key, and there's a big group of people from Iowa.
Oh, really?
And I walk in, I'm like, hey, Caitlin Clark. And I'm like, do you guys mind if we watch the game with you guys? And it was the coolest group of people ever.
Yeah.
It was like we had been friends for years. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and you probably do this. With basketball, I cannot just sit and watch a game. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you got to crash the boards.
Yeah.
And
they should be doing this or doing that.
And so at halftime, the guy leans over and he was like, all right, coach, what would you do? And I'm like, well, I said, one, we need to crash the boards. We can't always rely on Caitlin Clark's, shots, every shot going in.
Yeah.
Because they're doing, they're relying on her right now, and they're missing a lot of offensive rebounds. And so I'm like, I'm so sorry if I'm talking too much. He goes, no. He goes, I love listening to you. And I'm like, well, you're one of the few. Because I drive my sister crazy.
Oh, sure.
And so we're watching the game and hooting and hollering with them. And then towards the end of the game, I'm like, I collect hats. I think I'm going to have to get me an Iowa hat to remember this year.
Yeah.
And he takes his hat off and he puts it on my head and he goes, here you go. And I'm like, no, I can't take yours. He goes, this is an old school logo too. Yeah. I'm like, no, I can buy one.
Yeah.
Nope, I want you to have it. He goes, I enjoyed watching this game with you.
That's awesome.
And so it's just, just how women's basketball brings so many people together.
Yeah. And,
we'd never met each other before. And then later on in the week, we'd see them throughout the week and they'd come up like, hey.
It's crazy how sports can unite people like so quickly.
Right.
Like you said, you just walked in, someone from Perrysburg, Ohio walked in and saw these other people that were cheering for Iowa, and it was like you were friends forever.
Yeah.
But it happens really quickly because of you already know the one thing you both share is you want this team to win,
Right.
whatever sport or team that is. Because so that immediately is like, because for a lot of people, sports is their thing.
That's their thing, yeah.
Right. So if someone comes across and you're like, oh, I'm rooting against you, and they're like, get out of here. But even then, if you're rooting against them, as long as you're a good person, you can still be excited about it.
Yeah. So like Friday night, I went to the Ohio State, that team up north lacrosse game.
Yeah.
I sent my brother a picture of the stadium. I can't believe I'm sitting here in the stadium. But so we ended up in the section of that team up north, and the row in front of us were all for, all I know is his number 5. Mm-hmm. And he scored, I think, like 8. Do they call them goals in lacrosse?
I think so, yeah.
And so I don't know a whole lot about lacrosse, but just watching the family get so excited.
Yeah.
You know, so then I'm like, okay, I think that's the mom, and I think that's the aunt. That must be the dad. And so finally I tapped the lady on the shoulder. I'm like, are you number 5's mom? And she goes, no, I'm the aunt. I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, she's the aunt too. I pegged her as being the aunt. So it was still fun, you know, but just watching kids be successful.
Yeah.
You know, that's, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, we have a lot of fun. We joke around in that, but in the grand scheme, we want Zia Cook to be successful.
Yeah.
We want Caitlin Clark to be successful. You know, we can't forget the Tennessee Lady Vols, Jordan Horston going to Seattle, and Tamari Key and Ray Jackson coming back for an extra year for Tennessee. So they should be pretty good. So look out, Gino. We're coming. But, you know, it's like, and you're the same way when you coach. You're teaching those kids, you just want them to be successful and be the best human that they can be.
Yeah.
And you know, the teams that we're talking about, except for, you know, that one team, Gino.
Yeah.
They have great role models.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get so carried away in society of all the negatives that's all we focus on is this happened and that happened. And, you know, instead of, okay, well, this happened, it's unfortunate, but look at all these positive things that came from that. And, you know, look at how some of these kids, they came together as unified.
Yeah.
And that's making them better humans.
Yeah.
You know, I think society needs to focus more on the positives. And I've always said that. Like the news, I think for every negative story, there should be 2 positives. They just have to find them.
I think there was I think someone started, obviously it didn't go very well because people don't look for that in news. I think it was like called Positive News Network or something, where it's like, might have just been like a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Where all they talked about was like good things that were happening.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
It might still be out there, but I remember someone talking about that or hearing about that. You were talking about watching the coaches and what they do. And one thing that I learned, I don't know if I just learned like I should do this or if I saw someone do it or pay attention, because I know certain coaches do it. I remember I like the Spurs, so I always watch Greg Popovich, and there was a couple times where he would get thrown out of game and people would say like, oh, that was definitely on purpose. Like he wanted his team to see something, or he's wanted his team to know that he had his back. And that even happened during this basketball season. I would talk to Lexi and she's like, sometimes I think I need to get a technical to let them know like, hey, I'm here with you guys. Like I got your back. Yeah. And that's happened to me in football where I've gotten a flag thrown on me just because I was a call that got made against us where, you know, and I would tell the kids like after the game, I would apologize like, hey, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I shouldn't have been that animated. But I just want to let you guys know like I agreed with you, but I think there's better ways to go about it. But I just, at the time, this is how I thought I should let you guys know so you understood what was happening. You know? Right. I always made sure to let them know, like, that's not me. I don't do it. Obviously, I don't do it all the time. I was always good for one a season, though. Like, that was. Well, yeah. One blow up at an official or something where on a usually it's just a JV game.
Yeah.
You know? I never do Friday. Friday, I am the most level coach there ever was because it's Friday and I don't want to mess up or do anything.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Spotlight on Lorenzo.
Yeah, I let the other coaches do that. You know, Coach Kriegel, he was pretty level-headed, but sometimes, you know, he would get upset. Sam Cotterman, he would get upset more. But I think he had leeway because he was on the staff for so long.
Yeah.
And no one ever said, like, cut it out. Unless it got too much. And I remember Kriegel in the head said, like, all right, Sam, that's enough. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I do, like, some of those coaches can do it too much, though. Like I think it's already, Kim Mulkey already dresses the way she dresses.
Right.
And if this tells you anything, like, my wife didn't like it. And my 8-year-old's like, that's cool. Like, what? But she's an 8. She's 8.
Right.
And she wants to wear all that stuff. But I feel like watching her, she does it a lot. And it's almost to the point where, like, well, that she just does it all the time, and it has no effect or no nothing anymore because she does it too much. I feel like
the whining or the outfits?
whining. No, the outfits
or
whatever.
both.
She can wear whatever, but it's the whining, the stomping of the feet. Like I feel like it's a lot.
Yeah. So when I coached, my mom would always laugh. She's like, "I know when you're really mad because you stomp your foot." Mm-hmm. But I know I didn't do that all the time.
Yeah.
But I always kind of like, if I wanted to get on a ref a little bit, like I would holler at him and stuff like that. But then I'd always be like, "Hey, can you explain that to me so I can understand it better?" Just to kind of like, all right, I'm going to jump all over you, but now I'm going to smooth it over.
I just want to learn.
I'm just learning. What did you see? Can you explain it to me so I can explain it to my player?
Yeah. The best thing, like, I mean, I saw Coach Sims do it a lot. Coach Kriegel used to do it, but they've been around so long, they know all their names too.
Yeah.
And like they're like yelling at like Jeff, hey Jeff.
Yeah.
What was it, Jeff? And I'm like, oh my God.
What were you thinking?
I mean, obviously everyone introduces. I'm terrible with names. As soon as someone introduces themselves to me, I forget their name.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But like them to do it so long, they just know everyone. Like, or when someone walks in, I remember Coach Crew was like, "Oh, this crew's good," or this isn't a very good crew, or whatever. You know.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like
yeah.
you know already, and I was like, oh, like mentally, I couldn't handle that because then I'm like. I feel like I'd be like looking for things then that they're doing wrong, you know, if it's a quote unquote not a good crew.
And then you have to keep that positive attitude for your players because your players take on your personality. You know, it's like if you're out there being Mr. Macho and, you know, complaining, then they're going to complain.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, sometimes you look at who you have and you're like, oh no. Okay, girls, let's go.
We're going to be okay.
It's
like,
good.
Coach, are you telling yourself that or us?
Yeah. There's things that we can control and things that we cannot control.
Yeah.
That used to always be my yearly speech.
Yeah.
Like, we can't control what they're going to call.
Yeah.
We can control how we handle it.
Yeah.
And I said, sometimes you just got to turn your back and walk away.
Yeah. From everybody.
Yeah. So, and I kind of do that with the in the classroom. It's like, my kids know I'm just upfront and honest. I'm like, I am who I am. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but it's like, if you're acting like a fool or a 2-year-old, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Because if you keep doing it, I'm not helping you become a better person. But I'm also going to be there when you're doing a really nice job, and I'm going to pat you on the back. I'm going to say, hey, way to go, type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes in the classroom, I can just look at a kid and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, not now. Not today.
Yeah.
Not today. Zip it.
Yeah. Because there are times where it is like, okay, well, what we're doing today, we can have a little more chit chat or we can joke or whatever, you know. But they have to know there's a line,
right?
And kids love trying to find it, right?
Right.
So like to have someone to just call them out like right away, you know, they need that too.
Yeah, and it's harder in my class because it's all like hands on.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, all right, guys, come on. All right, guys. In fact, I had a couple of kids last week that are like, we're not quite sure how to take you. Because I can go from like goofing around to a completely straight face and be like, what are you doing? Yeah. And they're just looking at you like, wait, we were just joking with you and now are we in trouble?
I think that's probably the best thing though. Like you got to keep them on the toes all the time.
So I try to explain to them, I'm like, guys, listen, if I'm being serious, I'll tell you, hey, no, seriously, let's get to work type of thing. I said, but so then I'd be like, okay, am I joking now or am I serious now? And he's like, I don't know. So I'm like, good, I love it.
Yeah. That's right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. But just building the rapport, just like with the officials, you build a rapport with them. So you build a rapport with your kids.
Yeah.
They know that hopefully they, come in, we have fun, and then, we've got to get work done too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's just being real.
Yeah. And I think he was comfortable enough to even ask you, like, we don't know how to take you. What's happened?
Yeah. Well, I had somebody else tell me that, that they were talking to so-and-so and they're like, we're not sure how to take her. And so I just brought it up. And then when I brought it up, there's kind of like, oh no. And I'm like, no, this is a good conversation to have, you guys. I said, I don't want you to feel like you're walking on thin ice all the time. I said, you guys, you know me well enough. I got your back and, all of that. And so it's good. It's good.
What are you guys working on right now in school?
My 7th graders are doing hot air balloons.
Okay.
And so we'll be launching those probably about a week. So if they end up in your yard, just ignore them. Just pick them up, put them in the garbage.
What are they made out of?
Tissue paper.
Okay.
So they'll biodegradable, right?
Yeah.
And so that's 7th grade. 8th grade, it's a design challenge project.
Okay.
Where it's different cards. So like the first card you get is a challenge, and it might be design something for an artist to help, to help them. And then there's perimeter cards. So it might, like one might say taper. Well, then part of your design has to be tapered.
Oh, okay.
And then it just like adds different elements to it.
Okay.
So usually I have them do it in Tinkercad, so it's a 3D print. But for 8th grade, I've started like, do you guys want to do Tinkercad or do you want to actually build it? So they're building it.
Okay.
So again, just giving kids that choice. You're still achieving the same end result.
Yeah.
But you're giving kids a choice. And then when you give them a choice, then you have more buy-in and less discipline problems.
I was going to say, it makes it feel like it's their project as opposed to their assignment.
Yeah, and that's why I like teaching the STEM, is it because, you can say you're going to work on the design process. Okay, well, are you guys interested in this project, or this project? Because they all meet that same end result. And I call it dumb now, but there was one time I let each class of my 8th graders do a different type of project. I won't do that again.
It seems like a lot of work on your end.
There's time for a choice, but so now it's like what all 3 classes decide, like whatever one gets the most votes.
Okay.
Is what we go with, because it's like you've got 3 different projects going on for 8th grade, and then you got another one for 7th grade, and you're like, okay, I got to get these supplies. I got to have these out for this period. And I'm like, no, we can't do that anymore.
That is a lot of work.
One and done on that one.
Yeah, well, that's how you learn, right?
Kind of like the Ducks. One and done.
Yeah. Is there a unit that you like you look forward to teaching more than all the other ones? Because like you said, STEM's everything's more hands-on, so it is a little different. But I don't know if there was something like, I really like this, or the kids really like this one, so I like, makes me want to like it more.
Good question. The 7th graders, I'm going to say the hot air balloons.
Okay.
Just because you tie in the science with it again, and you're like, well, what have you guys learned from science? And oh, nothing. Yeah, you have. That's your homework. What happens to the molecules when you get the cool molecules hitting the hot air? What happens? Oh yeah. The 8th grade. I don't. The choice project is a really good one too, where they get to choose between using the laser engraver, the vinyl printer where they can make posters, or the garment printer. And I just got it's called a Wazer, where it can cut metal.
Oh,
so that'll
nice.
be another cool one.
Yeah.
So that gives them an option, and then they get to design. But school-wide, I do a project where all of the pictures in the building were created by STEM kids.
Oh, okay.
And so we're in the process of updating those. So there's like 90 pictures.
Really?
And so the kids, we'll do a tour of the building, You're like, okay, here's the athletic one. Who's doing this one?
Yeah.
And so then they get their work displayed throughout the building.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool because then the first year I did it, like, this poster is way too dark. Okay, what do you want? Do you want school colors? No. We need brighter colors. And I'm like, makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, when this is off the subject of their favorite topics, but so this year I got the new STEM lab, and met with the designer, and he's like, I think I have your colors picked out. And I'm, oh yeah, what's that? And he goes, the school colors. I said, nope. Nope, not happening. I said, they're really sharp colors.
Yeah.
But junior high kids, they want the brighter colors. I said, do you know the Tennessee Lady Vols? Do you know their colors? He goes, no. I said, you're going to. I said, we're going with the Tennessee blue and the orange.
That's awesome.
And he's like, okay. And I'm like, this is what the kids have told me.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is their room just as much as it is mine, And so people come into that room now and they're like, this is the best room ever. And we, it's welcoming. We like the colors. And I'm like, yep, go Vols. Lady Vols there.
Oh my gosh.
So, just giving kids input.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I do that. And my dad's always done that when he was a baseball coach. He didn't know a lot about baseball. And, he admitted that, but he always asked us like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or should we do this? And we do that even for the varsity football. Like, hey, we got this new thing we want to do. What's a signal that you guys will remember?
Oh yeah.
Right. So like, just to get them involved as much as can, as opposed to us just being like, all right, here's what we're doing. Here's a signal. Here's how you do the play. It's always nice to the people who are actually doing it.
Right.
To give some input.
When you give them input, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And like, so like one of the projects that we did is we have a group of special needs students, and so the project was to design a toy for a particular student. So the kids came up with the questions like, what's your favorite color? Who's your favorite character? And then they built toys, and they had stickers that would go with their colors and their favorite characters and stuff like that. And then we presented them to those students, and to see the kids interact.
Yeah.
Because we're all different, but we're all unique and we're all special in our own way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes everything so cool, is sometimes we're afraid to ask. Like, you presented at one of our professional developments.
Yeah.
What is it like, with the Mexican culture and things like that. So even when some kids have special needs, that interaction is hard for kids and sometimes even adults. And so to see that interaction happen and to see those kids so excited using the toy that the STEM kids made, it was like, I don't know what words would describe it, but all of that leads to the mentoring. So now the STEM kids were mentoring these kids for a little bit, and some of the kids that I have in class, they are mentors. And to just see that connection. Yeah. And I think, you did this in our professional development. It's like we need more connections of just having that open conversation and, hey, tell me about it. Yeah. Help me understand, why do you celebrate this? Yeah. How do you celebrate this? And so I think that was, in my opinion, that was probably one of my favorites. Yeah. Is to be able to see the interaction and the kids just taking pride in doing something for someone else. Yeah. Well, that's the most important thing, is it's not always about you. Let's do it for other people, especially your classmates here. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I definitely will end on that. That was a great story. But thanks for coming out here, doing a podcast. You always been you were a great teacher to me, and now you're a friend to me, and I appreciate you. You've helped me out with the podcast in the past, so I appreciate all that, because it takes a lot of work, and having all these people around me, if it's
something they've helped me one time, or if they continuously help me, like I appreciate everything, and I appreciate everything you've done for me too. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. As a teacher, Lorenzo, it's always like you're a proud mama, because I always tell my kids, I'm like, once you're one of my kids, you'll always be my kids. I'll always have your back, and so it's kind of like that proud mom moment.
Yeah.
Watching you guys be so successful, and you guys are great examples for me to talk to my current kids about. Is like, I got to talk to them. School isn't for everybody, and I explain, I have former students that are successful business owners.
Yeah,
college wasn't for them.
Yep.
And so when you surround yourself with good people like you, it's good things happen.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks again to my guest Jackie Derr for coming on the podcast today. It was a great interview as always. I have a lot of fun talking to her. I've talked to her obviously more than just here on the podcast, but it was great catching up, what she's been into, and I don't even know if I ever even asked that question, because that's what happens sometimes. But yeah, it was a great episode. So thanks to Jackie for coming on. As always, thanks to Fort Meigs CrossFit for allowing me to use their space. Again, like I said in the intro, I'm going to take some classes, and hopefully everything stays where it's supposed to stay in my body. We'll see how it goes. I'm pretty excited about it though. So we'll see if I can get someone else out here to join me. Again, check out my new billboard hat, brought to you by Noggin Boss. Pretty excited about it. So catch me, hopefully. I mean, you can't miss me when I'm wearing it. I'm already a big dude, and now I got a giant hat on. So that's only going to make me appear bigger. So thanks to them for shipping it out to me. As always, thanks to Cuttlefish Graphics, Real JP Multimedia, Big Daddy Graphics, and Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.